Hey guys, welcome back to this brand new episode. And this week, our topic is inspired by a movie we saw recently. It is called Frequencies. And ironically, it related to the last episode that we did last week. So we decided we're going to talk about frequencies this week.
Okay, and before we dive in, if you have not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And because we drop videos like this every single week. So yeah, last week we dropped a video about free will and fate.
Yes, like whether it is possible to experience free will without outside influences.
Okay.
Now, which is interestingly enough, because in the movie Frequencies, right, everyone has a predetermined frequency that they operate under, right?
Exactly.
Which automatically is going to determine their fate. So that plays with their free will a little bit. And I remember the one part where, I don't know if you remember, where she spoke to Zach, and she was just like, oh, almost as if you were made for me or something like that, And then they both felt weird because they both felt like then they didn't really have a choice or an option of how they ran into each other, why they ran into each other, and so forth.
Exactly, yeah, because the movie is a science fiction movie, a little bit of romance in there, but it follows two characters, Zach and Marie.
Yeah.
And now the two characters here, Zach has the lowest frequency possible in this movie, right? He's in the negatives.
Making him very unlucky. And, it reflects his life circumstances where it's like, nothing really goes his way.
Okay, we know about that. Some of y'all know exactly about that. Some of y'all are living that life right now.
Okay.
And compared to Marie, who has the highest frequency out of her classmates.
Yeah.
And is, fortunate, talented, have all the luck in the world.
Yes, she's just living effortlessly.
Exactly. And so we're following the two relationships between the two of them. And when they get together,
yes, something always happens. But let's get into the definition of frequency. What does it mean?
Okay, so the scientific definition that we have of frequency is a principle of association stating that the more often ideas, events, or other items occur, the stronger the connection between them is.
Yes. And it's funny because that's exactly how the movie basically plays out.
Yeah.
So because there are two different frequencies, it shows that something always happens dramatically when they get together. The more often, they get together, the longer they're able to be together. The more they fall in love, and then the connection gets stronger, which is the literal definition of frequency.
Yeah, so the two of them, at first, when they first meet, right, like the movie will have like a thunderstorm, and it was like, oh, they couldn't last longer than a minute because that's how tragic, the world, it says.
The world starts ending and stuff. It was
like trying to, because it was like, it was repelling. Their energy was basically repelling each other because they were on two different frequencies, realms, so to speak, right? So if we put this day to day in real life scenarios, right?
Yes, I was just thinking because in a sense, I know in the movie it's kind of like a myth to say that our frequencies are predetermined and they couldn't be changed, because that was part of the dilemma that they were having, right?
Yeah.
And then they ended up debunking that myth in the end. But it reflects in real life and in terms of like, all right, so. And, that's how it ties back into the last episode, how our fate and are kind of predetermined, by outside influences. Not that our frequencies can't change, but based on the experiences that we have gone through, through childhood and things like that, our personal experiences that has been constant in our lives, that has created a specific frequency that we are used to operating in.
Yeah, it gives us a base, so we can't really say ours is predetermined here. Maybe we can, but but the occurring patterns, the similar thought process, right?
Yeah.
The things that we go through gives us a base frequency, but it can definitely be altered and elevated.
Yes, and I love how there's a connection between like, okay, so this frequency, unless you change the frequency, you'll pretty much be living your life in a loop. It's going to be the same old circumstances all over again. People who live through trauma and depression and all kinds of anxiety and stuff like that, like if they don't, recognize it and change that, every circumstance that they run into moving forward in life, whether it's relationships, whether it's friendships, those scenarios are bound to repeat. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's going to reflect your relationship with your parents. It's going to reflect your relationship with your friends and literally everything.
Yeah, and I love that you say that because in the movie we can see that play out exactly just that. Based on either whatever character's point of view we were watching, right? If we were looking at through Zach's, the low frequency, every time he stepped in the room, the world around him, right? Because it's you pushed out. The world around him, these strangers would always give him some stink look.
Yeah.
It was like, ooh, like who he,
like because it's something that can be felt, you know? Like that's how like some people, when they walk by, you can feel like a bad vibe about them.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, I don't know, something about that person is very dark, you know? And whether it reflects their life experiences, whether it reflects their frequencies, the truth is there.
Yeah.
You know?
And so he thought he was unlucky, so everything around him was unlucky. And then because of that, people didn't want to associate with him because it's kind of like, well, you have an unlucky stamped right on you. Why would I want to associate with that?
Yeah.
Now, Marie's point of view, right? Her world perceived, this girl was getting luck out of nowhere. Everyone that was interacting with her, because it's herself pushed out, was smiling. Everyone wanted to be her friend. Everyone was like, oh wow, like what a lovely girl.
She's like a magnet, you know, for like, positivity.
Yeah.
And then all that starts to change as soon as she interacts with Zach's frequency. Now, I think, the lesson here is, because it is possible to change your frequencies, guys.
Absolutely.
You are not stuck where you are.
Yeah.
But the lesson here is, to mind who are, who we associate with, who our friends are, who our lovers are. And certain things we can't change, like our parents, you know what I mean? But if you don't recognize the frequency that, they play a role like in your life, then you have no way of changing that, or at least rising above it.
Exactly.
But it's just interesting how that works out.
That self-awareness is huge. Now, get back to the movie again, right? So because there were two different frequencies when they came together, sadly enough, I mean, the plot, whatever, right? But they became average, I want to say. And it's like, well, okay, if that's your story, go ahead, girl. But in the end, what it's really trying to tell us is that, let's stop going against the resistance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to constantly try to be, because ultimately, right, she wanted to feel again and whatnot.
Yeah.
But she, in my opinion, played herself, because it's kind of like, dang. Why are you, settling for average when you were already super average?
Okay.
And him, it's more so like he got the better end of the stick because you were negative frequency, but all of a sudden now you increased to be average.
Right.
And so what I would have liked to seen, honestly, is him working on himself, his character, his belief, to naturally raise his vibration and frequencies, then meet her at that level.
Okay.
That would have been a better subplot because, we want to take accountability.
Okay.
For who we are, our choices, what we've done. And because that's the only way we can then elevate ourselves, if we look ourselves in the mirror and realize that, we aren't a victim
to our circumstances.
Yes.
And the life that we grew up in, that we were born into. We're not a victim to that. Now, just take it all as a lesson, because it is important to kind of see. Now, while it was an interesting plot, I do appreciate that they both got to see the other side just a tad bit.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't have known how lucky she was if she didn't recognize how unlucky she could be.
That's true.
And then the same thing for him. His day-to-day life was very unlucky. So when he found the quarter, that was just like, oh my God,
I'm lucky.
I found a quarter, But it's just a lesson here, guys. Mind who, we associate ourselves with, and understand how that person is affecting us, and our energy, our point of views, and our perspectives in life. Because while it may seem subtle, gradually it becomes such a big difference. It's like you're dating somebody, who's different from you are. And in the minute, it's like in the beginning, you don't really notice it.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, years later of dealing with the person, you realize you have changed. You become a different person.
Yes. It's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
So it's like it starts off maybe it's just a little tiny compromise, but then 5 years later you realize you have drastically changed from who you are that you don't even recognize who you were.
Yes.
And that's not what love or getting into a relationship is even about. You should really be able to have your own independence and then their own independence and then mutually come together to make that beautiful higher frequency.
Right. And what about the other part of the movie where it was the other individual who was really good with music and how they describe how music became what levels everything out, right?
Yes.
And that ties into another point that the movie makes, the music we listen to.
Oh my gosh.
And how it affects us. Like we can either listen to music that raises our frequencies or we can listen to music that lowers our frequency. Like literally higher frequency music is what? Like high pitch. And then the more like the bass,
all about
is it bass or bass?
All about the bass.
I don't know what
bass, listen.
Bass, the low tone, that's lower frequency music, okay?
Yeah.
And it's just like we're not really considering how our music is affecting our moods, how it's making us angry, how it's making us depressed, but that is what's in the media now.
It is.
And even to finish that point, at the end of the movie, the guy playing the piano, he even mentions that there was, I guess, a meeting.
Yeah.
An official meeting where it was agreed upon that people could only listen to a certain frequency, so that they could remain controlled or I guess lower frequency or
exactly. And that's something to look into, especially if you're in the music industry.
And I think that wasn't an actual fact. Like something like that actually happened. So the movie was just saying it, wasn't just saying it to like be part of the plot. It's factual.
Yeah,
I looked it up and there was
a meeting.
There was a meeting where people just agreed that, all right, the music we're gonna put on from now on, and that was since Mozart times. Because if you think about it, the music they listened to back then was completely different.
Okay, it was symphony, that angelical type of music that puts you at ease.
Yeah.
Now with all the bass that we're hearing, especially in the rap industry and all those music industry, it's keeping us trapped.
We're all zombies, and the minute we start to feel depressed, what we gonna go listen to? A depressing song. Like, we don't think that's coming from something. Like, that's all part of it, all a part of the mind control. There was a mind control aspect part of the movie too.
Yeah.
All the ways that we're able to be controlled and we don't even realize it. We think it's just something we like.
Exactly. So all that to say is to just definitely be aware of what you listen to, what you watch, what you put in your minds. It's like all the things that, we've talked about plenty of times in our, prior videos, because all of that is the essence of you and what you put out there.
Yeah.
And what you are and what you put out there is going to come right back to you. So, guys, what do you guys think about that? If you haven't seen this movie, we definitely recommend it. It's
Yes, check it out.
Yeah, and it definitely was mind-blowing, very thought-provoking.
Yes. They really put some thought into that movie and putting it together. And yeah, I don't think they're lying about a lot of the things in that movie. So definitely watch it with your friends and family if you get a chance. Enlighten one another,
Yeah.
And if we have missed anything regarding frequencies, music, because we're not really musical, so we don't want to get into the whole notes.
Yeah, we'll sit back for another episode.
But definitely add in the comments to let us know what you think.
Okay, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, bye.
Bye.